long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
So, we have entered Groundhog Day territory. And the reason is Kathleen Kennedy has dredged up the animosity of herself and others at Lucasfilm to defend the Acolyte. Okay, now you remember. I mean, Ryan Johnson, TLJ, you're all racist, homophobic bigots. Pablo Hidalgo doing the same thing, attacking the fans, calling us man babies, etc., and ignoring the fact that we had valid criticisms. All right, not being able to take valid criticism. All right, and Kennedy has decided to go right back to the well, even though it dried up in 2018. Lucasfilm boss Kathleen Kennedy says a lot of women in Star Wars struggle with fan attacks because of the fan base being male-dominated. Okay, so in my opinion, it is Groundhog Day yet again for Star Wars fans. We are being called names because the Acolyte was something we didn't want, we didn't need it. And it's par for the course for these people because they can't take responsibility for failing, period. And it's funny because it's not hard to do this. And Kennedy made it hard because she doesn't understand it. I mean, George ripped her a new one at cons the other week, and she got everything she deserved, as far as I can tell. The interview with Hedlund in the New York Times and the subsequent garbage that's showing up in Variety is just Kennedy fighting back, all right? It's just Kennedy doing what she does instead of taking responsibility and keeping her mouth shut, which it's interesting to note that she didn't say anything and hasn't said anything about the Acolyte or Leslie Hedlund until after George came out and said what he said. And she didn't say it, she sure as heck didn't bring it up at Dodger Stadium. She mentioned the Mandalorian in Grogu, but she didn't mention anything about the Acolyte, because she knows it's going to be a failure. So instead of going, this was a show people didn't want, we insisted on making it, and it's our fault. And when you got something with 79% dislikes, with one of the videos with 90% dislikes, you have a problem. On YouTube, you have a serious problem. And the reason why is because the fans don't like Leslie Hedlund. They know who and what she is. They've heard what she said about George in the past. She's a bubble-headed bimbo, all right? But let's talk about it more.
This is like what we understand to be Star Wars, like the idea that that only came from George Lucas, that only George Lucas holds the key for what we understand to be Star Wars is just untrue. And I think the prequels are an excellent example of that. I mean, the idea that when you're hiring a director, that everyone is sitting in there waiting for George Lucas and not for the person who's going to know to hire Ralph McQuarrie, that's the problem. That's the misogyny and the problem with the auteur myth as it stands today, because they're not thinking this is the person that will hire the right people and this is the person that will be able to create the lookbooks and direct people to get them to that place. They're just thinking, do you have all the answers? And the truth is that nobody does, and anybody that says they do.
I know that it can feel sometimes like, well, I like this thing and I don't like that thing, and if you don't like the Acolyte, that's fine. It doesn't matter. Like the reality is that Star Wars in and of itself is not just a vast universe full of many different characters, many different eras, but it is always about the spiritual journey of what it is to become who you are. And that's why I am so overwhelmed and grateful to be here, and beyond overwhelmed and grateful to be allowed as a filmmaker to experience what it is like to actually tactilely make something in this world. That is beyond my wildest dreams, and I can't wait to show you guys more. I wish I could.
The Force, nobody understood the Force. Nobody, what they do is, and then they started other ones when I sold the company, and they, a lot of those ideas that were in there sort of got lost. But that's the way it is.
I think there was an assumption being made for quite a while that girls didn't care about Star Wars, or that girls weren't identifying with characters like Luke Skywalker or Han Solo. They were only identifying with...
No, stop! Not one more crooked word! Your tongue could open a wine bottle! As of now,
Never had an agent. It's not like she worships the devil.
well, she doesn't have to. He worships her. Get out.
Be here all night.
Get out.
I mean, we're being called names by people who aren't fans. I mean, look, if you believe Leslie Headland is actually a Star Wars fan, really and truly think that she is, and believe her story about how she was a kid and she got abused for being a fan and bullshit, okay? She's lying. First off, if you're a girl and you like this stuff, you will find your people, okay? Obviously, if she's telling the truth, then she's an idiot, okay? She's weak, all right? But I don't think she's telling the truth, because I had my people. I knew every nerd in school, all right? Every nerd in my school. And the idea that she's sitting there saying this stuff about how isolated she was, and she'd make stop motion Star Wars movies with their action figures. It's like, why am I not buying this? And I know why. Because of what she said about George. And again, like I've said before, what they're doing, just like they did with Ryan Johnson, is they're making Leslie Headland look like a victim. She comes up with these lies. And of course, Kathleen Kennedy saying it's really hard for a woman to navigate Star Wars because of the male-dominated fan base. Why? If you like Star Wars, it's easy. Okay, oh, and by the way, guys, apparently there's a dumbass named Cassie on Facebook who thinks these pictures are photoshopped. She doesn't realize that Leslie Headland worked for this son of a bitch for 6 years. Okay? It's just, I'm like, look, this is what, see, the problem is, these people, Kennedy will lie, Headland will lie. I find it fascinating that the people who like the garbage believe everything they say, and then you realize Kennedy, Headland, and others at Lucasfilm are dependent on these idiots to be intellectually dumbed down, uninspired, and intellectually uncurious. Okay, this is why we get articles like what we got in the New York Times, and Kennedy getting away again in Variety, saying that women have a hard time with Star Wars. And I look at her and I go, women like you have a hard time in Star Wars because you don't understand it. You never liked it. Okay. And when you got a chance to understand it, George, I'm sure, told you everything. And it went out in one ear, bounced around your empty walnut-sized brain, and came out the other ear, not sticking. I mean, I would think after, all right, here's an example. I would think after 4 Indiana Jones movies and the failure of the sequel trilogy, that Kennedy would realize the Force isn't female, Indiana Jones stays the hero of that franchise, and there you go. Let people have what they want. Stop trying to change things. And instead, she does the complete opposite of what George and Stephen did, for the last 40 years. Because she didn't learn anything from them. See, to her, it's all about, being a woman in power. And she don't know how to do that right either. Okay. When I think about her dragging up this stale bullshit argument that they pulled out when Rian Johnson fucked up The Last Jedi, and actually they were pulling it out when The Force Awakens came out. I've got Freddie Prinze Jr. saying this.
I did a Star Wars cartoon, so even I get hate from Star Wars fans when I'm like, look, dog, you're just mad the franchise isn't aging with you.
Right.
But that ain't how it works. The first one was for fucking kids.
Right. Yep.
The second 3 were for different fucking kids. And this one is for kids. You just pissed off that Han Solo gave the fucking Millennium Falcon to a girl. That's it. Because Luke Skywalker's Cinderella. Or Sleepy.
So this is the kind of crap that Star Wars fans have been abused with for almost 10 years now. Freddie Prinze Jr., 2018, attacking fans. I have the entire interview. He is the dumbest, literally. He is the male version of Leslie Headland, who's not Rian Johnson. Okay, this is what we're dealing with. People who talk like this at Lucasfilm, who've worked with Lucasfilm, because they don't understand the franchise. All right, you're talking, no. The franchise isn't for children. It's for children of all ages. Fucking idiot. Which is why Andor didn't work. Okay. Which is why, these fans that Freddie thinks exists for the sequel trilogy, where are they? Why do I go into Ollie's discount and find stacks of Rey figures from The Last Jedi hanging on the pegs? Because the kids didn't like this shit. They didn't like it. All right? Maybe your kids do, Freddie. But massive amounts of kids all across the planet did not like it. Now, they love The Mandalorian. They love Grogu. But there's a difference. That's Star Wars. Okay? And if you're upset that people are pissed off at Rey, it's not because she's got a vagina. Though, really look at Daisy Ridley. You kind of get this masculine feel, don't you? It's because she's a poorly written character, one-dimensional. She's obviously Kathleen Kennedy's avatar. And I think Daisy Ridley's a poor actress. That's my opinion. I think there are other actresses who are far better for the thing, all right? And, there were other actresses that were up for it, like Billie Lourd, Carrie Fisher's daughter, all right? The story was bad. It was inconsistent with 1 through 6, and it basically undermined what George wrote. What is he supposed to do? Have you come over to his house and explain what was going on and why the sequel trilogy doesn't work, you stupid fucking asshole. But then again, we're talking about Kathleen Kennedy complaining that women have a hard time navigating Star Wars because it's so male-dominated. It's not the fact that women can't. It's that you can't, Kathy. It's the fact that Leslie Headland is incapable of being around a lot of testosterone because she's probably made to feel insecure about it. All right? I mean, there are a lot of women who get upset when they realize the business they wanted to get into is a male-dominated business. That is they play by different rules. And bitch, if you can't do it, don't do it. And if you gotta have your husband protect you, then you're lame. Okay? Lucille Ball wasn't lame. Sherry Lansing wasn't lame. Dawn Steele isn't lame. So I'm gonna leave you guys with a question. I'm gonna leave again the article in the description so you guys can read it. Why can't Kathy Kennedy, and why has she never, ever, ever been able to navigate the movie business, which is male-dominated, when she actually believes the mythology that she's some sort of independent, strong woman? And if she is, why did an independent, strong woman like Gina Carano get canned? Because you're not dealing with an independent, strong woman with Kathy Kennedy. You're dealing with a woman who's never really matured past the age of 15. All right? Intimidated by other women, jealous of other women. That's why Gina got sacked. Okay? This is Steph, signing out. I'll see you around the galaxy.